Welcome to week 2 of MPAI 600 here at Georgetown University School of Applied Intelligence, a School of Continuing Studies Applied Intelligence. I hope, again, this first week, a little bit of hiccups. I think just normal first week stuff. People come in to the course, people drop out. So I had to readjust the groups. Just go ahead and continue with what you're doing for this week and then fall in on the groups that I reassigned for next week. So, with that being said, again, I'll give you detailed feedback for the current events as well as the discussion board participation, so you have an idea of what I'm looking for the following weeks. So announcements, keep up the effort. Please keep it up. This course, everyone is really enthused in the first weeks, and then sometimes it drops off. All I ask is that you keep up the effort that you've shown this past week for this course, even for the remainder of this program, and you'll be fine. So please just continue that level of effort. And again, please post by Thursday. I know we're in a little bit of a rough week this week because it's compressed, but if you post by Thursday, that gives your classmates, or please post on Thursday, no later than Thursday. That gives your classmates the weekend to update their or to respond to your discussion sections. I know it's a lot in the early parts of the week, but that's just the nature of the program. So current events. As you give current events, I like to explain current events as well. And what's going on now is Hurricane Dorian seems to be bearing down on the it was Florida, and then when I woke up, we're looking at the Carolinas now. So there was a shift in the pattern. Excuse me, a shift in the pattern. So first, I just want to say, if you're in the area of being impacted by Hurricane Dorian, tell me now. I can be flexible on extensions and things like that whenever there's a natural disaster. If you are working for FEMA or one of the emergency agencies that is involved with Hurricane Dorian, tell me now as well, so I can adjust a little bit for that. But what I also want to say is, there's people who are working in the Homeland Security track in this program. One of the key points from lessons learned from Katrina was evacuation. Who gives the evacuation order? For Katrina, the disaster happened before the hurricane even hit land, where there was evacuation plans for the most vulnerable people who lived in nursing homes and hospitals, but there was no evacuation plans for what I call the outer circle. That means those are the people who don't have cable TV or smartphones or anything. They're all their assets are in their dwelling, their assets are in their car, and this is their couch and everything. So these are, not the most vulnerable, but the second most vulnerable people as far as on the economic ladder. And they had no means to evacuate. Not only did they have no means to evacuate, but they had no orders to evacuate. So the question comes up, who gives the order to evacuate? At what level? For Hurricane Katrina, the federal government took a lot of the blame for what happened in New Orleans, but it was state and local officials that had the order for evacuation. So should the federal government, FEMA, the president, whomever, the director of Homeland Security, should they have the authority to say, you will evacuate? Should that be done at the local levels? Should that be done at the state level? Who is the primacy to order an evacuation? And I can tell you right now, that is the most critical part of any disaster relief. Evacuating people beforehand. Because and we've got some people who work fire rescue, it is much easier to shelter 50 people before a storm than it is to pull one guy off a roof in the middle of a storm. So that's the critical point, and the question I point out is who at what level does evacuation occur? And I'll just leave it at that. So review of last week, again, great discussion board, great discussion section. The UBL capture in the documentary, I think, really highlighted it. And one thing I just want to emphasize is specificity in writing. And a lot of you already did this, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. But I want you to, again, this week it was apply the intelligence disciplines to Osama bin Laden capture. Next week it's going to be look at structured analytical techniques and intelligence traps and apply them to the confessions, which is another case study. I want that level of specificity. So look at the readings and the theory that we teach, and then apply it to the case study that we have on hand. And you'll be fine in your discussion boards if you do that. So I think everyone kind of hit the UBL capture, signals intelligence, the courier, or linking the courier to Osama bin Laden. The signals intelligence was critical in that. The initial interrogation of Hassan Ghul, and I asked, was that the result of enhanced interrogation, or was that the result of just normal? Well, it happened after enhanced interrogation, but would normal interrogation have yielded the same results? And then the GeoInt, how they used overhead imagery to trace the multiple families of Osama bin Laden, to determine, yes, there's 3 families in that house. Osama bin Laden has three sets of wives, and they use that to corroborate that it was UBL. So again, they use all elements of intelligence discipline to bring about a product. And then actually one thing people did bring about was OSINT. That's now the 3rd semester someone's brought up OSINT, particularly the UBL interviews and the videos that he gave, which might not have led to the direct capture of him, but certainly framed the overall intelligence picture. And we don't talk about OSINT in this class, but look at how OSINT might aid the different intelligence problems that you guys are going to explore in future weeks. So, yeah, OSINT as well is a good point. And then the intelligence cycle. I talked about the intelligence cycle. It's going to be critical going forward. I gave my amended version of the intelligence cycle. Lowenthal has his. Other people have theirs. But as we go through the case studies going forward, whether it be the confessions next week or Pearl Harbor or Iraq WMD, start thinking about where the intelligence broke down along the intelligence cycle. Was it in the collection phase? Was it the analytical phase? Was it in the interface with policymakers? Was it at the policymaker phase? Where did intelligence break down? And that's something I want you to think about going forward. So week 2, collection strategy. So go ahead and you have a collection strategy due at the end of week 2. Go ahead, pause me, and watch the collection strategy video so you get an idea of what I'm looking for. Okay, so welcome back. As you saw in the video, again, very simple. I want you to develop requirements, and I'll talk about requirements in this week's lecture in week 2. Apply the intelligence disciplines that you studied in this past week, and analyze the pitfalls in the collection cycle, where the intel might go skew awry. So it's a very simple understanding of intelligence collection, and what I want you to do again is just be creative. Put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, and think about the intelligence side of whatever problem you choose, whether it's Russian interference in elections in Europe, whether it's MS-13 in Fairfax County, whether it's cybersecurity for your personal firm. All of those issues have an intelligence cycle or an intelligence side, and the intelligence cycle can be applied to that. So start thinking through that going forward. And then the readings for this week. Again, so the collection strategy is part of it, and then the readings, Lowenthal Chapter 6, which we'll talk about requirements, the Intelligence Tradecraft Primer, which goes into the second part, which are intelligence pitfalls, analytical thinking that might force people to go awry and come up with bad solutions to intelligence problems. And then the documentary, PBS Frontline, The Confessions. It's a great injustice was occurred, largely because people had their own biases that forced 4 people to go to jail for a crime they did not commit. And I want you to apply the intelligence tradecraft primer and those issues to the actions that you see in the PBS Frontline documentary. So, with that being said, if there's questions or issues, please let me know, and I look forward to this week's discussion.